Let's bring in Dennis McShane. He's a former Minister for Europe in the UK government and joins us now from London. Dennis McShane, good to have you with us. So what do you think we can expect to come out of this summit leading up to COP26 on the 31st?
There's one big issue, of course, an agreement on a 15% global corporate tax rate, which will mean a lot of companies will now have to, like Apple, Amazon, the so-called GAFAs will start paying some money. So that's a good thing. That's what G20 is there for. It's to set the signal for world economic recovery when there's a crisis. But we have got a serious problem with energy prices, as we know, serious problem with some countries not really on top of COVID, a huge problem with continents like Europe and, of course, the United States being very well vaccinated, but Africa, third world countries really suffering. So those are the two big issues I would hope from this one. There's a lot of tension, at least in the English press, about Mr. Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister here, and President Macron over a really childish row over fishing, how many fish or scallops, shellfish they can catch in the channel. Let's hope that common sense can prevail and we can move on to Glasgow, which is going to be very, very tricky indeed.
I mean, we'll come on to what may come out of COP26 in a moment, Mr. McShane, but let's stick with that agreement about the tax plan. I mean, that has been in the works now for at least a year. Do you think we're going to see some kind of signing off of this G20 and a communique that comes out that means that will become law for the nations that have signed up to it?
I think so. The finance ministers met earlier this year in London, and of course, a number wanted to move the corporate tax rate up to what is roughly the average in advanced economies, about 20–25%. But there was pushback, but it doesn't matter. 15% is a good benchmark for the future. So a country like Ireland, which has used a much lower corporate tax rate to attract an enormous amount of inward investment, really almost as a sort of tax dodging country for the global international financial community, it will now pay or oblige companies to pay a fairer share of tax. And then we have to move on to stopping the tax havens, stopping the tax fiddles. And that's still a big task to accomplish.
Yeah, a decent starting point, but as you say, a lot of work still to be done on clamping down on those tax loopholes. And talking about big tasks to be accomplished, COP26, there is I guess the framework is in place now for everyone knows what they need to do. How close do you think we are now to having the rich countries being able to go into their pocket and make sure that they pay for smaller countries to bring down carbon emissions? Because I think that's really one of the main sticking points, isn't it?
It is indeed, and each rich country has got its own opposition. We know that President Biden couldn't get the deal through Congress that he wanted. In Britain, in this country, despite very positive messaging from the Prime Minister, Mr. Boris Johnson, we read an awful lot from conservative forces that don't want to tackle climate change, saying it's too expensive, it bears down on the poor, and we get similar arguments from right across Europe. Poland, for example, saying, hey, we're not going to give up brown coal burning because we don't have any other source of energy. And so until, as you rightly say, pockets are dug into, and this becomes the kind of priority that the pandemic became, and we put real money behind it year on year on year on, I think we'll have a COP27 and we'll be asking many of the same questions all over again in a couple of years' time.
Yeah, we haven't got much time left, though, have we? Dennis McShane, do appreciate your analysis. So thank you so much for being with us.